Yay, the Hangout is on air. So I just clicked on your face here. So now we're looking at you. Can you say hi?
Hi.
Yeah, so you sound fine, but maybe you're still muted. And that's okay. Whatever. I don't care. I'm going to record. And good evening, folks.
Hello.
It's me, Brother Mac.
I'm still Trav.
And he's still Trav. And we
Still
are
sick.
bringing you another episode of
Seconds count.
Seconds
Oh,
Count.
yeah.
Yeah, baby. So we're bringing you an interesting one tonight. So what's funny is we actually introduced a format with you where we talked a bit about local and we talked a little bit about national and we talked a little bit about sort of internet, right? And I'm not saying that we're going to break that today, but the stuff that I came to bring to you, to me, didn't, I mean, I don't know, it just didn't really fit the format, I guess. I just got a bunch of stuff to talk about.
The format's open, really. I mean, it's whatever we want to talk about.
This is true.
That was the point, the purpose. However, tonight's episode is definitely brought to you by Not Your Father's Root Beer.
Not Your Father's Root Beer.
It's quite special.
As suggested by Trav, purchased by Brother Mac, and drunken by both.
Ale with a taste of spices. I suggest you try it. It's a small brewer, and if you can find it, it's definitely better than that Coney Island hard root beer bullshit.
And it's hella yummy. I'm enjoying it, my first experience, so.
Yeah.
So, all right, first things first. As you know, we do have secondscount.com up and running, so please visit us there and subscribe to our show through Stitcher and iTunes. Like us on Facebook and follow us on Twitter. That's secondscount.com, 2NDS count.com. Make sure you do that. All right. Now, another little cool addition that's been added at the top of secondscount.com, you can find a little contact section which has a link to Trav's email. Ooh, throwing my computer around, but there he is laughing at me there. You can find a link to Trav at secondscount.com and Brother Mac at secondscount.com. So you can find us there and send us an email and yell at us and tell us we suck or that we're awesome, whatever, or that you want to give us money or more, Not Your Father's Root Beer.
Seriously, right? If you're going to contact us about giving us money, okay.
And matter of fact, you can actually send an email to anything you want. Like, you know, you can send one to Not Your Father's Root Beer at secondscount.com. It's still going to come to my email address, which is amazing, right? I have an awesome little catch-all for anything that shows up at secondscount.com comes to me. So, yay.
That's okay.
Okay.
It's whatever.
It is what it is. Okay. So there's your reminder, call to action. Come see us, subscribe, listen, respond, the whole angle. Now, I have a cool little side story.
You always have a cool little side story.
Yeah. Well, sometimes you need a cool little side story. All right. Now, do you see? Oh, everyone saw Brother Trav there. All right. So first things first, as you can see, we're a little bit on Google Hangout. I don't know how this is going to work with the whole co-host thing, and we're going to give it a shot. So I'm clicking on Trav's picture because he's too damn cute. And then there's myself who strays away from being too damn cute. But the fact is right now, for some reason, his Google Hangout microphone is muted. And if that ends up making it so that in the video you only hear him in the background, that sucks. And we're going to have to figure that out in the future. But at least for right now, you can kind of see us and kind of interact with us. But what we're going to do is this. We're going to actually start recording these over Google Hangout. And through a little discovery with the other show of I Want to Start a Damn Podcast, I found that this is a great way for us, if and when we're ready, to get a guest.
Yeah.
And we can get a guest on and listen to him and talk to him over Google Hangout. So I'm really looking forward to being able to do that. Although we are going to have to figure out this whole echo thing. It's a little interesting, but whatever. We'll figure it out.
Cement.
The neat part here is that at the beginning of the show, Trav pulled out his little vapor, And I said, well, that's kind of neat, and smoking sucks, and I'm really tired of smoking, so I decided to pick one up myself, as you can see, and now I'm an avid vapor. I have not smoked a cigarette in over 10 weeks. Same thing with my wife. So very, very cool, and I was very excited to see Trav pull that out that day. And I've seen other people with it, and just seeing him with it, and how the fact that we could sit here and record our show and pop a vape instead of trying to smoke a cigarette or thinking about going to smoke a cigarette or should I not smoke a cigarette, any of these things. Right now, I don't have to worry about it. I'm indoors, and no big deal. I got my vape. I'm a happy guy. Now, the cool part is this. I talked about this in my other show. I want to start a damn podcast.
Did you talk about how you wanted to smoke a damn vape? Is that what it was?
I did.
Was that the episode?
That was not what the episode was about. I did, however, just happen to mention it, that, because of my podcast, I decided to start vaping. Yeah. And what was really neat about that is that I went ahead and picked this up. Now, at the time, I think I hadn't smoked for like a week when I made that recording. Well, I got a message the other day from a gentleman that has his own podcast from Virginia. Yeah. And a whole bunch of other things. And apparently this guy, pretty cool, has smoked for 43 years. Because he happened to stumble upon my I Want to Start a Damn Podcast, he listened to it. Yeah. And he decided to run out, toss his bogeys, and pick up a vape, and he hasn't had a cigarette for over a week now.
That's awesome.
And he sent me a message about it and just said, through your spoken word, you've changed my life, which is amazing. 43 years of smoking, this dude gave it up. So, cheers.
Yeah.
Cheers to that guy over at the Virginia podcast. Yes, and a thank you for Trav. I stole it from him, and very happy to do so. It looks like, hey, we got a viewer. My hoping is that's our good old buddy Tom. Now listen, one thing I was really upset about is that we didn't get to record when it was Tommy's birthday, and we wanted to make sure to say happy birthday, Tommy. And I'm hoping that's him that's watching right now. So happy birthday, Tom. Thanks for checking in on us. We really appreciate it and all your support. All right, so let's kick into some topics tonight, Trav. I am going nuts over all this stuff that's out there. I've been shooting out, popping off at the mouth when it comes to our show, and it's been a little crazy.
I've been a little overwhelmed here and there.
Yep. So I hear that. And I'm getting it all over the place. So when I look at this, we've got news stories out the wazoo. All right.
I know we haven't talked about a lot of stuff because we haven't recorded because I was sick.
And now I'm a little sick.
Now you're sick.
So we're running into that a little bit here. Yeah. So I'm going to actually, what I'm going to do here is in our little Google Hangout, I'm just going to do a brief screen share so anyone that's watching can see a little bit of what we're seeing as I discuss it. I'm not going to leave this up the whole time, but I am going to slap in little Google Hangouts plus Firefox, and we'll see if this actually works. Hey, that's whoa! That's scary. Sorry,
what
everybody.
Just happened, dude? that was like a portal to.
That was a portal to the seconds count dimension. Now, so check this
what I'm
out.
seeing on my screen is like.
Not anymore, though, right?
No, it still shows me. It's like a cascaded picture.
That's fantastic. Dude. Well, it's not supposed to show it anymore. So
yeah, what I'm seeing is like.
Maybe I'm sharing the wrong stuff, and that's okay.
You know how. Okay, we're coming back. Yeah. But you know how when Microsoft used to have that error and you could drag the box across the screen and it would just be overlapping images of the box?
Now you should be seeing our show here.
And I can see a screenshot of the webpage on Facebook.
That's right. So what you're looking at here across the top of the screen, I've got a whole bunch of things. I got like 6 different pages up. And what I wanted to pop in here and just point out, each one of these things that are up here now are all incidences where an armed citizen has stopped a crime. Now, it could be an armed crime. It could be an unarmed crime. It could be a mass killing. It could be any of these situations, but each one of these things are up there, and it did not take long to find these. And some of them have been popping up. So if we're going to start following our format just a little bit, we do have a local incident where this happened, right? And I'm gonna
right in Waterbury.
That's right, in Waterbury at the Cafe Azzurri. And apparently, this person tried to steal from the business and the customers.
Yeah.
And as you can see here, a customer was carrying a legally registered handgun, confronted the suspect, and ended up fatally shooting the guy. Now, what seems a little interesting here, and I haven't heard the follow-up.
My favorite part of the story, I think,
is coming up. Yeah,
I think so.
So, what seems to be coming up here is that they are investigating this as a homicide.
Yeah.
Now, one thing I will say in this story, it doesn't mention the guy was armed. I don't see anything here in this story, what I'm reading right now, that the person that was robbing the place was armed. Now, he might not have been armed. Maybe he pretended to be armed. But maybe not. I mean, I don't know. So maybe that's why they're doing it? I honestly really couldn't say.
Yeah, we don't know enough of the circumstances.
Unfortunately, we don't. Now, what I would like to point out here is that, I mean, they're investigating it as a homicide. That doesn't sound good. To me, that sounds like this guy did something wrong.
Yeah, it flags it.
Now, when are we going to hear more about this? The only thing I can say for sure is that the gentleman that was the armed citizen, the legally armed citizen, first of all, he was a firefighter. He owns a local restaurant, I guess, or a bar, and the police have stated that he's cooperated fully.
Yeah.
But I'm really interested to find out what's going to happen with this. I mean, why are they investigating it as a homicide?
Well, I guarantee you we won't find anything else out about it unless it is pursued as a homicide. I mean, even a negligible homicide is still a black mark on your record, you know what I mean? I mean, this guy was obviously protecting not simply the business, but the other customers inside the business along with himself. You know what I mean? Regardless of the circumstances, obviously he felt this guy was a threat.
Right. So here's where it comes to my point. This is one of the things that I really wanted to talk about is, when should you act? Should you act? Should you ever act? Should you ever step up and act in a situation like this?
Well, like we were speaking off camera earlier, you know, and I'll say it again. I mean, it's circumstantial. It's up to the person, the individual. You can't, you know, say you should have acted when you don't know the circumstances. It's up to you. You know what I mean? As a person to figure out if you have the opportunity to act safely in a manner that's going to result with, you know, the best interest of all being the outcome.
So,
you know what I mean?
I mean, I do know what you mean, exactly.
So as a parallel example, something as a burning house. Now, neither of us are trained firemen. You know what I mean? However, if your house is on fire and your dog was in the house, would you assess the situation and try to get in there and get the dog? Absolutely. You know what I mean? Regardless of the fact that you're not really trained as a fireman or how to safely enter a burning house, you would probably still assess that situation. If your dog wasn't in the house and it was your computer you were concerned about, you probably wouldn't pursue it. You know, it's a totally different circumstance. Same goes for, you know, any kind of activity where, you know, there's a threat involved. Are you able to mitigate that threat without becoming, you know, immobilized or injured in the process? Man, your keys couldn't have been any louder.
I really tried. Really tried.
But you know, those are the factors that you want to consider. You're not, you know, if you're in a situation where making yourself more of a target is going to be a problem, that's only for you to decide. Nobody can put that onus on you. You know what I mean?
I do. Now, here's the thing. So first of all, I'd like to state that I agree with what you said explicitly. Without question, I agree 100%. The question comes into play here. So I'm gonna tell you why I bring this up. There was another incident, all right, and there's been a bunch of them, and I'd love to point some of them out. and the irony and why we're discussing them to begin with. But there was a shooting at a Waffle House. All right. Now, this is one that came out and everyone was all over. It's been shared. You've seen it on the Breitbart news. You've seen it on a lot of different things. And the Waffle House, one of the Waffle House, not patrons, but I believe it was a Waffle House employee, said he saved us. Another person has been quoted as saying he saves their bacon, But if you read the story, that may not necessarily be the case. All right, even the story right off of Breitbart, which is obviously a geared, a geared bias, let's say. They won't say they're biased, all right, but if I'm being honest, they're biased, and that's
Absolutely.
fine. As long as you know this ahead of time, it's cool. Now, the interesting part of this is somebody brought up a conversation about this, and Porco, I hope that wasn't me on camera there. What was interesting about it was the fact that this guy brought up the post where, or the part rather of the story where the person was leaving the restaurant. So if you read the actual story from Breitbart or wherever it is, what you'll read is that the person was on their way out of the store. All right. So the whole "he saved us" thing is really inaccurate. Okay. He didn't go into the store and stop the shooter. He didn't go to the store and stop the robbery. The guy was on his way out of the store with the cash, and that's when he intervened. That's when he witnessed what was happening and intervened. So the whole "he saved us" thing, the person that brought that up, I agree. That's not accurate. He didn't save anybody. All right, no people were saved.
Yeah.
Because there was, at the time, no patrons in danger. However, he goes on to talk about how now this 19-year-old kid is dead because this guy got involved, when he could have just sat back, gotten a good eyewitness of the incident, and then reported it to the police and helped track this guy down. So now there's something to be said about that.
Yeah,
okay.
Absolutely.
So what they're saying is he should not have intervened. Okay. Now, I challenged it. And said, so, what you're saying is that he should have hidden away, right? Because, not for nothing, you're putting down to the bottle couldn't have been any louder, by the way.
I did it twice just to be an asshole.
That's right.
You're welcome.
Here. Just keep doing that. Well, might as well jingle jangle. Toss you those so you can have a fresh one.
Yeah. I'll get to it after.
All right. So where he was going with this is, he's basically pointing out it's ridiculous. Now, this guy was running out the door with $200. Insurance would have covered it. Cops would have got him, and everyone would have gone on their merry way. All right. In theory, this guy would go to jail for robbery, blah, blah, blah. Now, that may or may not have been the case. And on the same token, maybe the guy didn't have wheels. Maybe he would have gone out there and found the first person with a car, shot them dead, and took the car and drove off. But the question is, in this case, should this guy have intervened? Should have he gotten involved? And the answer is, well, that's a personal choice.
Absolutely.
The question I would pose is it wrong for him to have gotten involved? I say no. Because
once again, it comes down to your own values.
Well, no. I'm not saying is it morally wrong, okay? Because that's going to be subjective,
Absolutely.
Right?
The whole episode is subjective at this point, though.
Well, it is and it's not, because while the law is clear, but the law is also subjective, right? My question is,
reason.
Can you get involved if you witness a crime? And you go to stop that crime, is it wrong? You're not a cop. Should you get involved? I will say that if you know about a crime and you don't do anything about it, I know you can be held culpable.
Mm-hmm.
So
you can be an accessory.
Right. You can be an accessory. Right.
Absolutely.
So If that's the case, should you not do everything you can to stop the crime?
You would think the reverse would be true.
Well, you would think so. Now, I believe in this particular case, it most certainly was. I don't believe this gentleman got into any trouble whatsoever. I believe they fully cooperated. He cooperated with the cops, and well, I don't believe the Waffle House wants their patrons getting involved. I don't think they want anyone to carry within their residence. And whatever, it's a private business. They're allowed to say that. That's fine. It's their choice.
Absolutely.
But this guy now is saying, I mean, what's going to happen here? Should this guy have gotten involved or not? Because could he have gotten away scot-free? Sure. But I mean, we've all watched Spider-Man. We've all read Spider-Man. We all know what happened when Peter didn't get involved, right? What happened to good old Uncle Ben?
It's all conjecture. That's the only problem. We're not future cops here. We can't predict what might happen.
You're right. We can't.
So,
so we have to make a decision based off of what we have available
in front of us at the time it happens. You have to be able to assess the situation and react appropriately. Now, does that mean incapacitating the kid instead of firing on him? I mean, I don't know the circumstances. Did the kid have a weapon?
The kid ran out of the store with the money and weapon in hand. The person stepped in front of them, said, stop. He drew his gun on him, said, stop right there. And instead of listening, the kid pulled out a gun and fired a shot, in which case the citizen fired in return and killed him.
All right. Well, I mean, it's tough because realistically, if this was the 50s, the guy would just simply be a hero. It's as simple as that. As things happened and we became such a litigation friendly country. It's opened up everything. Back, I don't know, I'm gonna say 20, 30 years when they repealed that law that allowed lawyers to advertise, because lawyers used to not be able to advertise. Now you see them they advertise everything. You think they're friendlies. But, before that happened, there wasn't as much litigation. Nowadays, if anything goes wrong, forget it. Somebody wants money for free. And that's really the bottom line. And it goes, it rolls into this because, it plays upon that whole Good Samaritan law. And Connecticut's not a state with a Good Samaritan law. We don't have that. I know we used to, but we don't anymore. And that basically means that if somebody gets into a car accident and you tried to help them stay alive and they lived, but they received an injury due to your help, they can sue you.
Which is
so
the craziest shit I've ever heard.
It kind of plays into that same process where, I mean, should he have acted? I don't know.
Right. So, but here's what it comes to. So here's the thing for me.
It's a conundrum, man.
One thing that bothers me about this is I don't know the answer of whether what he did was right or wrong. What I can say is from a law standpoint, should he be in trouble? The answer is hell no. Okay. In my opinion, if you are ever able to act, if you're not able to act in the situation that this guy found himself in, and if I'm being fair, put himself in, all right? If I'm being fair, he put himself in that position. If you are not allowed to act in that position, what's to stop me from saving Mrs. A and her daughter and her little baby boy when they're in trouble? All right. If I'm not allowed to act in this case, why is it okay that I act in their case? Because I think they're in danger? Well, what if I'm not right about that? What if they're not truly in danger and I'm making that up, even in my own little brain? Okay.
Slippery
slope, what we're talking
man.
about is a crime is in progress, and we think we can do something to stop it. Where in this particular case, there's obviously not anyone else doing anything about. Now, did the guy go in guns blazing? Did he run and shoot this guy down? No. He confronted him, told him to stop. He was fired upon, fired back. Now the kid's dead. So sorry. My response to the person that was complaining about this is basically this. Guess what? It's not this guy's fault, and I don't give a shit what the circumstances are. What the circumstances that happened in this case, you can't just make it up. He stopped the guy. This guy went in armed robbery to rob the place. All right. So he put the lives of all the people in that Waffle House in jeopardy. Now, is there any eyewitness account right now that says he robbed those people? No. Is there anything that says he put a gun to someone's head and said, give me the money out of the drawer? Nope. But was it an armed robbery of that Waffle House? Yes. Were all the patrons in there in danger while he was doing it? Yes. Because if they weren't, when he went to court, it wouldn't be armed robbery, would it? Right? It would be different. So they were in danger for their lives. So he put himself as the robber, as the criminal in this circumstance, in that position. Then when he left and was told to stop by somebody armed, and the person I was talking with at the time was like, well, he's just some Joe Schmo. If it was me, I wouldn't have stopped either. He's not armed. He's not a uniformed officer. Well, that's fine. I know plenty of non-uniformed officers. I know a couple of detectives. I know a couple of plainclothes officers, right?
Well, once again, it comes in.
You don't know. If you're told to stop and you got a gun pointed at you, you have a decision to make.
Well, yeah, you have to evaluate that.
Are you going to stop, or are you going to pull your gun out and shoot at that guy?
I mean, apparently he couldn't assess the threat correctly.
Apparently he misassessed it, because what happened? He pulled his gun, shot, and then he got shot back. That is not that other guy's problem. I don't care whether you personally think he shouldn't be involved. Guess what? It's not his fault he's involved. It's the criminal's fault he's involved.
Well, I'm sure that anybody who's going to want to argue the point is going to want to, kind of exonerate the criminal in the process.
Oh, well, no, in all fairness, this guy is not a stupid guy. He's actually a fairly intelligent individual.
No. I'm just saying, as the story may progress further down the litigation line.
Oh, I think some people are going to. Like, I can't wait for the criminal's family to come on board and say, oh, well, I'm going to sue this guy for wrongful death, which
I can imagine that's only around the corner.
I can as well. And it's just so damn upsetting. It's so, like you said, in the 50s, and you know what? Times need to change, because in the 50s, they treated women, they treated men and women of different color and whatever one refers to as race, they treated them horribly in lots of circumstances, right? So times, they do need to change. But I'll tell you what, this guy wasn't doing something wrong. He wasn't being a cowboy. He wasn't being a jerk. He saw a bad thing happening. He stepped in, and I don't think he stepped in to say, well, goddamn, it's about time I get to shoot me a criminal. Yeehaw, with my legal carry weapon, I finally get to fire at a bad guy. Honestly, if people think that that's what dudes running around with guns on their hips are just itching for the chance to shoot them a bad guy, then you've got more faith in your government than you've got in your citizenry. And no offense, but our government ain't earned that. I mean, really. I mean, it's absolutely crazy.
You're preaching to the choir, man.
I know. And unfortunately, I'm going on a rant. And what's going to happen is I'm going to entirely lose the point of doing this. Which, unfortunately, for anybody that's watching via our Google Hangout, they have to see all of the junk, like that part right there that'll be edited out.
Yeah, some of that stuff gets snipped.
So, and some of my crazy incoherent babbling will also get ripped out. So, this stuff pops into play here in circumstances, because what happens typically? What sort of news stories do we usually come across via, and I don't even like using this anymore, because now the right-wingers like to use this all the time, and I'm really freaking sick and tired of both parties. So, but the mainstream media, meaning all of the media is out there, what do they always report? They report the bad stuff. They report the hyper sensationalized quote unquote news, and they do it in such a manner to generate income, which is fine. Hey, businesses are supposed to generate income. I'm all for it. But I'll be damned if they don't all seem to work together towards against what they should be doing. I mean, they will jump all over something that is anti-gun, right? They will sensationalize it to no end. We talked about it in a couple of previous episodes. You know, what happened in Newtown? What happened in one of the most recent ones? How many times did the news stories get something wrong? And did they just pop something off at the mouth on their pieces to get more people to listen, to get more people to respond?
Yeah, at that point, it doesn't even matter if they, enter any kind of redaction or anything, because really the damage has been done.
The damage is done, right? What do we? My point in this is this: what generates more ratings, more discussion? Is it people getting killed by dudes with guns running around, criminals doing all kinds of bad stuff, or is it somebody stopping the bad guy? It's the former rather than the latter. Now, the question though is that because the latter never happens? Do the good guys never win? Does a good guy with a gun never stop a bad guy with a gun?
You're talking a lot today, dude. You're firing off on like fucking 18 cylinders.
I am.
And it's I'm tired. you got me up against the fucking wall over here just because I'm like, how do I jump in? Where do I jump in? I can't fucking jump in.
What?
Swimming with sharks.
Now's the time for you to jump in.
I got nothing to add to that, man. Fucking really, we always talk about, the played up tragedies. It's never anything about good, honest fucking anything overcoming anything.
Right.
That never. Misery sells papers. It moves at misery and sex. Misery and sex, dude. Misery and sex. Those are the things that sell.
Yep. But the fact is that doesn't mean that the other things don't happen.
No,
right?
It doesn't. It just means that they get sidelined. I mean, for instance, let's just take, a kind of lateral twist here for just a moment. Let's delve away for just a second, okay? And we'll consider the recent Democratic debate. Okay, very, 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 very boring, bland shit here. But what happens? You got a crowd full of fucking people. Hillary Clinton in front of everybody. A lying piece of shit in front of thousands of people. She's committed a crime. She's a fucking criminal. And she's like, well, hey, just don't worry about the crime I committed. I could still be president, right?
Yeah. And
Bernie Sanders, who people want to paint as the second coming of Christ out of Vermont. I mean, this guy is giving away everything, but he's not paying for any of it. So who's paying for any of it?
Right.
Is it this fucking rainbow fucking pissing unicorn in his backyard that drops golden shit eggs every now and again, and then he goes and sells them to the mass fucking public?
But what did Bernie say?
I
almost lost it when I saw this.
I don't even remember, man. I got about 2 seconds into it when he started moving over to her like some fucking father grandfather stalker kind of move. I'm like, this guy is hawking a fucking criminal. They're both twats.
I almost died though when he stood up and he's like, I gotta say, America, let's forget about your. We don't want to hear about your emails. We don't
want to hear about your.
And you, man, could you see Hillary's face was like, yeah, exactly. Duh. Nobody
wants to see this fucking wasp go to jail, right? No, it couldn't be.
I just couldn't believe. Like, we have bigger issues, and I'm like, hold on a sec. I don't think anyone's arguing that we have bigger issues than Hillary. I don't think Breitbart himself, who's rolling over in his grave, which he found himself in way too early, by the way. I don't think Rush Limbaugh. I don't think Obama. I don't think anybody and their mother is stepping back going, Yeah, we don't have any bigger issues other than Hillary's emails.
No.
I don't think anyone's saying that. I know I'm not saying that. What I'm saying is this. I mean, should we let this go?
No,
Of course not.
absolutely not.
What did Tricky Dick do?
But they're all trying to overlook it, and it's insane,
Inconceivable.
But that just shows you that, Americans are willing to overlook anything. Yeah, Nixon impeached over a scandal that any other president that's been involved with something as scandalous has not, in fact, been impeached as quickly as fucking Nixon. People act like Nixon lit kids on fire with cigarettes or something, and I mean, Hillary Clinton, she jeopardized.
Hillary Clinton has done
much.
one of the dirtiest people that has
how many
ever.
lives have been at risk because of this woman,
and how many have been lost specifically because of it?
You know what I mean? And Nixon, Nixon's the crook. She was on his committee. She was fired for fraud from Nixon's committee.
That's correct.
Come on. Let's hire her for president. Like I said earlier, man, I don't understand this diehard, this diehard faith, this diehard following that some people will, develop, and how the mass can just keep following it and then keep supporting people who are lying. They're lying to your face.
Right.
Because seriously, Bernie, people think he's the great white fucking hope. The guy's like 76 years old. He's older than shit. All right. He's been spewing rhetoric for 30 fucking years in his seat. All right. He's got some ideas that I'm not totally against.
Right. I've heard some good stuff out of him.
Things are good ideas. But it's one thing to say, here's a good idea. It's another thing to say, here's a plan I actually have in place that's going to make this idea viable. You know what I mean? I can tell you that I have an idea on how to fix the country. But if that's all I tell you, then you're going to have to place your faith in me that I know what I'm doing. And
magic wands do not fix problems.
No, they don't. I mean, this guy is or was a senator from Vermont, which is, historically a very gun-friendly state with one of the absolute lowest gun crime rates ever. And he's still anti-gun. I mean, that just strikes me as awkward.
It does. I will say, though, honestly, I agree with both Bernie and Hillary and what they said at that convention.
Yeah.
We should stop talking about it. I agree. We can't and we shouldn't until the government does what they're supposed to do and actually punish these repeated illegal actions by Hillary Clinton.
Yeah.
Now, once that happens, we can move on.
Oh, yeah.
But they're not. They're trying to give her more power. I mean, not only are they not punishing these, you realize that for every email that is considered classified, that is shared, that is a felony charge. Each one by itself is a felony charge.
And if it was anybody else, we'd be in prison.
If it was you and 10 emails went out, that would be 10 felony charges.
I'd be in prison right now,
and
without a doubt.
It's insane. All right, to blow it off, to tell us to blow it off, to say we've got better things. You're right, we've got better things to do. So can you please stop trying to make her the freaking president and prosecute her for the crime, and then let Bernie debate someone else?
And it's funny because people are just like, well, I can't wait to vote for Hillary all the way. And I'm like, are you serious?
On what planet?
What are you getting? What information are you getting from any of this?
Are you being paid by Hillary the same way we're being paid by the NRA?
I don't understand where that devotion comes from. I mean, I have no problem with seeing a woman in the White House, man. I
Not at
think
all.
that'd be fantastic. I just think Hillary's a piece of shit, and
One of the dirtiest
that's
people ever to sit
just my
in
opinion.
office.
But it's based on this thing that we call facts.
Like actual history, things that have actually happened.
I mean, and Bernie Sanders to lump himself in with that fucking madwoman is one of the worst moves he could pull.
Whichever one, if Bernie ends up being the front runner, he's going to put her as his vice.
I'm sorry, and I'm sorry. You could be Democratic, you could be Republican, you could be whatever you want, but if you're gonna vote for Hillary, you're a piece of shit too.
Same path. End result is going to be the same crap at the end.
Sorry, I'm not sorry.
No, really. I mean, I get it. One thing that was funny that was pointed out here, and someone's going to come out and punch me with the racist card in a hot minute, but check this out. It was a really interesting thing I saw. Did you know that the Democratic Party has 5 candidates, right? All some old-ass white people. Okay? And I don't even like classifying people as black and white or whatever. But in this particular case, I'm quoting like a particular meme, and it's almost in response to all the cries of racism, right? So the party of diversity has no diversity, right? And you look at the Republican ticket, right? The people that are trying to win the candidacy, you've got 4 Latinos, an older black man, and the rest of the people are white. I mean, it is as diverse as it's going to get. And historically, for the record, the Republicans have had much more of a diverse cabinet than the Democrats. Personally, I don't give a shit.
You know what the problem is?
What's that?
Is the words Republican and Democrat.
Yeah, that's the biggest issue. The biggest issue.
The biggest hurdle between anybody is that,
drop the labels.
Get rid of the label. Really?
Honestly, you could just get rid of the parties as a whole.
We don't need
no more super
parties.
PACs.
Don't represent what they used to represent, if they ever did represent those actual things.
Get rid of the super PACs as a whole. Party system disappears, and then people are just running on, hey, this is it. I mean, you ask me, you give me 3 things out of my president. I want a president that is transparent in their spending. In other words, when you say X money goes here, that's it. You don't tack on other things. And I want to see where every nickel goes. I don't want to see it, but I want to know that if I did want to see it, it's there and I can find it. And then you have transparency in your laws. Like we said before, don't tack on all this multi-billing crap.
No.
And then I want to see honesty in following our constitutional rights of our people. Stop playing games. Stop playing games with the Second Amendment. Don't play games with the First Amendment. Stuff that they played with the 14th Amendment. Hey, I agree. This is an honest to God. That's what the SCOTUS was put there for. And it's not to make a law, but to interpret the amendment to fit the time in this particular case in regards to gay marriage, when the government shouldn't have anything to do with it. That's what their job is right there. They shouldn't make a law saying the states can't do it. But what they can do is say, hey, same-sex couples, they fall under the same protection as opposite-sex couples that the 14th Amendment allows. That's their job right there. Done. Okay? That's the honesty I want to see. I don't want to see the crap that they're playing with the Second Amendment. I don't want to see the bullshit that they try to pull with the 10th Amendment. I don't want to see the stuff that they're doing in regards to, the birthright of citizenship and all that crap. Like, stop playing games with it. Honor the Constitution. And if the SCOTUS pulls the crap of violating our rights like they did with, for example, the Affordable Care Act, you should rip anyone out of office that voted for it out, because it's a blatant violation. Matter of fact, this got brought up very recently, where a gentleman got a bill from the IRS for 2014.
Yeah, he was in Indiana, I believe.
Yeah, Indiana. And You know, it was for, $2,400, whatever it was, and it was because he didn't have insurance. And here's my question.
And the wording on that bill is because he didn't pay his share. No, not his bill. He didn't pay his share.
Yes. Yep. Now let me ask you a question here, because I brought this up and it's been laughed at and scoffed at. And what's funny is I still yet haven't heard an intelligent response. But
you might not get one here.
Hey, that's okay. I want to mention it briefly and move on. What happens if you don't pay that bill?
Honestly, what happens if it's the IRS sending you a bill? They're gonna tack on your pay.
Okay, so they're gonna tack your pay. So what happens if you start working under the table?
Well, obviously they're not going to be able to tack.
They won't tack your pay. So then what do they do?
They'll continue to bill you
until what?
Until you pay it.
And if you don't pay it, what happens?
You probably risk an additional fine and maybe some jail time.
Okay, so jail time right there. That's the reality. That's right. Now, if you own a house, maybe they'll tack a lien on your house. Yeah. Okay, but if you don't own a house and if you don't own a house and you don't work, where you're gonna receive income tax that they can just garner, right? What is the punishment? It's gonna be jail eventually, right? Yeah. So
actually, you know what? Before that happens, I think they might try to, get you down to a residence and maybe just take something.
Well, right. So
that might happen before jail.
If they tried to take something and you prevented that from happening, what would happen?
Oh, you'd still go to jail.
If you stopped yourself from going to jail, what would happen?
What do you mean?
Well, look, if you are trying to steal $2,400 from me and I decide not to let you steal it from me and I defend myself, what's going to happen?
You're still going to get in trouble.
Right. So they're going to try and pull me to jail. So if I try to stop myself from going to jail,
you will be shot dead.
I will be shot dead. So what does that mean?
That means that the IRS is all seeing.
That means buy insurance or what? Powerful. That means buy insurance or what?
You're going to die.
Or you're going to die.
Pretty much.
It's buy insurance or die. Okay? It sounds fucking loopy, right? And people have looked at me like, dude, you're freaking crazy. I'm not even going to have this discussion with you. But tell me how that's not true. Every single law that exists in the system right there, it's all backed by this right here. It's all backed by a gun wielded by the government.
No, they like having guns. They just don't like us to have them.
I saw a fantastic little meme, and I am putting it up in the show notes. And what it was a picture of Glenda the witch from The Wizard of Oz. And it said, hold on to your AK-47s, Dorothy. Their magic must be very powerful, or else they wouldn't want them.
Yeah. Pretty true.
It is pretty funny and true.
I don't know, man. I mean, really, it's just there's a lot of wrong, and it's going to take a long time to fix it.
There is,
and keeping the same type of people, like career fucking politicians.
Biggest issue out there is career politicians.
Is never going to fix things, and people and the apathy that people display when voting and turning up at the voting booth is ridiculous. But that's what it comes down to. They, a lot of people, they don't even remember why they voted for somebody in the first place. They just remember a name. They remember a name, and they're like, well, this person didn't do horrible. And instead of doing any kind of research or being any kind of current, they're like, well, I'll just vote for this guy again. I mean, how do you think Roland was in office for so damn long? I mean, aside from, being the crook that he was and setting up all these money schemes for himself, people kept voting for him.
Yeah.
Why did people keep voting? Because They didn't think he did anything too bad. They're like, oh, the state's okay, so he stole a little money.
Honestly, I think I
mean?
think Roland could have beat Malloy again. I still don't know how Malloy got reelected.
And that's the thing. People were like, oh well, Malloy wasn't as bad as Roland. That's the thought process. Malloy wasn't as bad as Roland.
Yeah, that's only
but they
because
don't
Malloy
look at the
hasn't been
numbers.
arrested yet.
That's because there's no obvious signs yet pointing to him being a goddamn crook. And you know what? Honestly, he might not be a crook.
Well, he's a crook. He already forced in laws that violate our rights.
No. He might be a criminal, but he might not be a crook.
Fair enough. Okay, there is a difference.
You know what I mean? So, and he can.
Though one could say that forcing those laws in the way it was done steals our rights, which would make him a crook.
If you wanna, manipulate the words here.
Pretend I'm a politician.
Yeah, you could do something like that. But the fact that remains, Roland did for his wallet first and foremost. Malloy just hasn't shown that he knows what he's doing yet. You know what I mean? He comes from Fairfield County.
Yeah.
This guy's the mayor down there, and I mean that's practically another planet. That's like comparing Los Angeles in California to the rest of California.
Right.
It's a completely different place.
You know
what I mean? And people don't live on that same wavelength. They don't operate on that same wavelength. So how can you expect them to be of the people when they've never been of the people? They're of a fucking different tribe. Yeah. And that's where they want to be of that different tribe. They don't want to, mingle with the rest of us fucking general hubs over here,
Well, what I think's happening, honestly, is I think Malloy is setting himself up for another government position. Hence the career politician stuff.
I don't know.
I think he's setting himself up for another position. And, I mentioned this before, that I need 3 things from my president, and I stated what those were. But the kick-in is term limits. You give me those 3 things with a little side order of 2 term limits for every government position that exists.
I think that root beer is getting to you. No, but I mean, the president has term limits. Why doesn't the rest of the Senate and Congress have
term limits? Plus, get rid of this lifelong pension bullshit.
Oh, that's out of hand.
Get rid of those things, because what's going to happen at that point if you do that? The only people that are going to go into the biz
are people who really want to be
that they want to, and they don't need to make it so that these guys don't make any money.
No.
They don't need to be $25,000 a year jobs. Don't get me wrong. That's ridiculous. There's too much responsibility for that light of pay.
To a degree.
However, while they serve in office, they should be compensated fairly and fairly well, and that goes for their benefits as well, but they should end following it. Yeah. I mean, that's just it. They can have their monies added into a pension, sure, but it ain't going to be some lifelong pension making the same amount of money. No, none of that. They shouldn't get insurance for the rest of their life. No, none of that. They shouldn't get any of these craziness benefits. I mean, at the end of the day,
they shouldn't be above the law.
No,
at any point.
If they serve 2 years, or 2 terms rather, in the House, yeah. Sorry, YouTube. If they serve, that time, then they're done. No more. You don't get to serve there anymore. Now, you can go and then serve as the vice president. You can serve as the president. That's cool. Serve that time, but you can't start making up these fake government positions for them to go into, because I guarantee you, if they were to enact term limits tomorrow, you know what would happen is all these senators that are out of a job, we'd have the new czar of Lenovo and the new czar of, not your father's root beer, right? We'd have new government jobs for them all over the place. And that kind of crap would have to be nipped in the bud quick in a hot minute. You either serve an official position or you don't.
Yeah.
Right. And that's fine. They can do it. And dude, if you get someone that honestly stands up there and says, listen, this is what I want, this is what I believe, this is what I'm going to do, and F all that shit, everyone's going to vote for him. They'll probably end up shot dead, but everyone will vote for him.
But the problem is we're starting to get those kind of candidates and people are turning away. See, that's the problem. People are being played to think that these people are
crazy.
Yeah. You know, I mean, great example, Ben Carson. The fucking guy's a neurosurgeon.
Yeah, he's great.
You know what I mean? He's performed things that they wrote about. I mean, that's like John F. Kennedy shit, dude. You know, he's had a storied life and he's been successful. You know, and he knows what he wants to do. He has clear objectives, you know what I mean? And you know, maybe he's not as politically correct as other people would want him to be. Maybe he's
and more than others.
Maybe he's a little bit more a little rougher, you know, to some degree, but you know, we've been so concerned over being politically correct and worrying about everybody else's feelings for so goddamn long that we've lost the point. People are afraid to act. People are afraid to be themselves for the most part, just because they don't want to hurt somebody else's feelings. And I mean, it's really created an entire, you know, generation of people who just aren't themselves. They're not themselves, you know, and then when somebody stands out against this crowd of fucking pretenders and he's being true to himself, they don't know how to accept that. They don't know how to view it, you know, and you know, how can you look at somebody who is, you know, a genuine lifesaver, you know what I mean, who has done the work and believes that you should have your rights, you know, and is you know, such a fucking standout guy, and just think he's bad. Really, you know, people, you know, religious freedom being what it is, you are absolutely free to believe and practice whatever the hell you want, up and until what you believe and practice impacts somebody else in a negative way. And you know, that's what's going on in the world. It's not just in this country. It's going on in the world. And Ben Carson's not an idiot, and he sees it happening, and he addresses it correctly. And people want to be in outrage. I mean, granted, a lot of the outrage is really generated by the Muslim community, you know, and unfortunately, there has been a lot of bad coming out of the Muslim community. You know, if it were Christianity doing this, there would be a lot of outrage against Christianity. And the thing of it is, you know, Christianity has done a lot of bad over the years. You know, there's been a lot done in the name of Christianity. There's been a lot of lives lost in the name of Christianity. You know, I mean, just consider, you know, the Salem witch trials. I mean, we killed everybody. You know, can consider that. You know, but it took us a while to realize that that was wrong. You know, but once those things, yeah, ironic, once those things, you know, came to light as being the wrong way, we stopped doing it.
All right.
We stopped. You know what I mean? And once we realized we were wrong, we stopped. Well, in some cases we stopped, and in other cases we were made to stop. You know, and it wasn't just by Christians or Catholics, it was by other people. You know, but we came to the fucking conclusion that, hey, just killing people indiscriminately wasn't a good idea. So now that we've learned that as a people, and we want to apply that to the Muslim way of thinking, it becomes a problem. And I understand that because, you know, it goes against certain tenets, but those tenets are being imposed on other people who are not of the faith.
Want to hear something funny about that? I saw an
There's
article.
nothing funny about Muslims.
Well, learning. Somebody made a great post. They said, should religion be forced upon students in public schools? And the answer of which is, of course, no. Okay, no religion should be forced upon any children in
any public setting.
Excuse me. Yeah, no religion should be forced upon a child.
I call you Jan Bon Jovi.
Yeah. Jan John Brovey.
There you go.
That's another new one. Hey there, John Bon. John Bon Brovey.
Stuttering prick, you.
Okay. But no student should have religion forced upon them in the public school setting. But that doesn't mean they shouldn't learn about religion. They should learn about the religions of the world and the role that they've played in the world.
Absolutely.
That is something that a little something fun and embarrassing about it, though, for me. There was this story that went around about how this student was given this information about something to do with the Muslim or Islamic faith, rather. Okay. And in there, it mentioned whatever the hell, it's something about the Islamic faith, and it talked about Sharia law and a couple of things, and the parent did not allow their child to respond to it, and they instead wrote a note that said, "My student will not participate in this, and it's bullshit that they have to, and they should only have Christian stuff, and that's the way it is." And so I sat there and I thought about this. I mean, to me, I'm sitting there looking about this like, what would I say if my kid brought home a paper learning about Islam and the faith? What would I say about it? And I mean, I'm trying to be objective, right? I'm trying to not let my personal feelings of what that faith has been shown to represent, and knowing that it also represents, other things. There are many, many peaceful Muslims across the world.
Absolutely.
And what am I going to think about that? And the honest answer I came to was, well, I guess I would have to look more at the assignment. Is it teaching them about what it is along with a bunch of other religions? Then I guess okay. If it was trying to force them to, like, this is
adhere, this is coming.
Right, this is appropriate, or if they weren't learning about other religions, then I probably would have an issue with it. And I saw some other people reacting, going, "Oh, hey, I remember reading about that in school. I remember being taught that stuff." And I sat there and said, "Hey, I don't remember." I said, "Wait, I didn't really pay any attention in school at that age, so I don't remember if I was
about any of that when I was in school. I mean, I learned about the Bible and whatnot in catechism, which I hated, and I attended for as little amount. You know what? Catechism would have been fine, but it was on Saturday. What was more important on a Saturday?
Saturday morning cartoons, baby.
Damn right. God damn, I always missed
To the Falcon Cave.
Dude, I always missed the good cartoons, and that's the real reason why I hate religion. But seriously, it's I didn't learn about Eastern religions until at least high school, and it was barely touched upon. You know what I mean? They don't really. It's not pertinent to the classroom setting for what you're really learning. And I mean, and granted, our history books are fucking yay thick, and we study fucking this much of it every time, but.
And all the stuff written by the victor.
Oh yeah, all the. I mean, really, it's got stuff about Reagan in there. When I was in high school, they had stuff. Dude, we never read about Reagan. Never got that far. I tell you what, I could probably fucking tell you about every fight about what went on in Luxembourg, but fucking Concord, fucking Luxembourg, and I don't know. I'm fucking drunk, but
that's a bit rough.
all these old fights, stuff that's 19th century shit. We never got into the 20th century.
Right.
Never. It was never touched upon. The only things that we started touching upon in regards to 19th century or 20th century was Industrial Revolution and all the amazing fucking inventions that came out. And most of it's all Edison, pro Edison.
Where's Tesla?
Yeah, exactly.
Where's Tesla?
Much more important contributor to our history, but it's the way things are. We don't learn about that shit. So learning about Sharia law, like, I don't know. There's a lot going on with Muslims, dude, and I'm sorry. I know it's a touchy subject. I really do, but my problem is that there are a lot of people coming to this country and they're just refusing to assimilate even a little bit. Even a little bit. They want everything to be tailored to how they are. And that's not how this world works. It's not how this country should work. If I go to Poland, I'm not going to force people to speak English. I'm going to try to learn fucking Polish.
I've been to Poland. A lot of people speak English already.
My point
Just
being,
as a heads up.
if I'm going to places around the world, I'm going to try to acclimate to where I'm going so that I can better fit in. That's kind of how. Not everybody in.
Looks like I may have been booted out.
I don't know. I still see you on my camera.
Now I'm back. Looks like now we've got seconds count in there, which is also me.
Yeah, I don't know.
Oh, there's seconds count up on the screen.
I see that it never left for me. So.
Oh, let's see. My unfortunate face up here. Okay. So I wanted to jump back real quick though. We've got a couple other interesting ones that are out there. So,
let me jump in.
Yes, please.
Let me jump in. All right. I want to talk about real quick in national news. Maine constitutional carry.
Oh yeah,
went live.
That was on that.
Yeah.
Go Maine, baby!
I think that's pretty significant. A good step in the right direction.
I actually just chatted with a gentleman from, I believe it was Tennessee, and actually I'm not sure. It could have been Virginia.
You're butchering the accents, dude. You're sweeping through the breadbasket, and you're just like,
Yeah, I'm giving them all sort of one Southern thing.
Yeah, but
I get that. I know that they're different. It's all right.
It's like a daisy chain of dick slaps, dude.
Yeah, it's all right. I can do a different Southern accent, but not like this one. It's very obvious that I'm doing a Southern accent. It's fine. Matter of fact, this guy was, now that I think about it, he was from North Carolina, and he's a.
I think I just wanted to say daisy chain of dick slaps.
I think you did. You might want to send that one to what's that?
Dr. Black.
to him as well. I was actually thinking of that comedian there, though, Lewis Black, so he can combine that with his bag of dicks.
Yeah. Genius right there.
So I ran into at getting some coffee this morning. I ran into a gentleman from North Carolina, and he's a former Army, and I don't know what the hell he does now, but he's retired. He's retired Army, and he's up here, and he's doing something for work. God damn these yawns, midnight recordings. So he's up here doing something for work, and we just happened to get chatting, and I told him a little bit about the show, and we talked a little bit about the Second Amendment, and he actually had said something that if I like a license, if I have my permit to carry, it should carry over to the other states. And we specifically mentioned the Maine one happening, and that's awesome. Go Maine. Well done.
It should be reciprocal. It absolutely should be, and I'm hoping that we're going to move towards that in the future. And I know it's definitely on the books for a lot of Pro 2A causes. So we'll see what happens.
Yep, fingers are crossed there. But something I wanted to point out is that there's a lot of folks, especially with that damn incident that occurred at the school in Oregon, right? In Umpqua Community College, UCC.
Umpqua Community College.
Yeah, baby, it's Umpqua Community College. Yeah. So at UCC, Umpqua Community College, and fuck. I'm sorry if you're looking at YouTube, Mom.
I almost snotted my beer, dude.
Yeah, don't do that. You got sensitive equipment in front of your face.
Yeah, you ain't kidding.
So at the Umpqua Community College, UCC in Oregon, at Umpqua Community College.
Trying to go so goddamn fast.
Yes, that's right. So anyway,
at the college
in Oregon, at Umpqua Community College. Fuck you and your horse.
Fucking kumquat.
Where's Tommy? Where's Cockring? We didn't need him.
Oh, I'm gonna get a headache.
Okay.
Anyway, at this college. Don't try to say the name. Just fucking skip it. Skip the fucking name. Just
at UCC in Oregon with the shooting that happened before. Really quick to touch on what was spoken of earlier with should someone get involved. Turns out that there were a couple of armed citizens there despite the gun-free zone. And, there's been a lot of backlash. It wasn't a gun-free zone. It was a gun-free zone. Yeah. And that message is actually up there. So
big sign, gun-free zone.
Big sign. And it's right there on the policy on the website. Now, it's irrelevant, but for right now, the point is yeah, they didn't do anything, and they were right to not do anything. They weren't near the incident as it occurred, and they feared that if they attempted to maneuver themselves to be in position to act upon it, that they may be misinterpreted as the shooter and then be shot. Yeah. I would say that that's pretty good gun ownership. I say that that is good decision-making skills when it comes to being a gun owner.
Yeah.
Now, that is not to say, because people have been saying for quite some time that armed citizens do not stop these kinds of occurrences. Right? They don't stop mass shootings. I mean, they go so far as to say that the good guy doesn't stop the bad guy, typically, when it comes to it, unless the good guy's a cop, whatever. Yeah. And that's, there's so many examples of that not being true that is not funny. But what is not necessarily prevalent is armed citizens stop mass shootings, specifically mass shootings. Okay. The answer is yes. Without question, they do. Here are a number of examples, and I just wanted to point them out. So earlier this year, all right, an Uber driver with a concealed carry permit,
which was against his company's policy.
What's that?
Might I add?
Oh, yes. Now, and he's not supposed to have it, obviously, within the city limits as well. But shot and wounded a gunman who opened fire on a crowd of people. Okay,
where?
In Chicago.
Oh, Chi-town.
That's right. Now, another one in Philadelphia barbershop. All right, in Philly. This guy named Warren Edwards opened fire on customers and barbers after an argument. Well, another gentleman that had a concealed carry permit shot the shooter. And, it's funny because some folks, what was stated, the police captain stated anyway, is that, the man that shot the shooter saved a lot of people in there. Now, obviously, there'd be no way to tell whether he was going to shoot the whole place up or whether he was just going to go after the people he was arguing with. But in the end, cheers to the captain for making that statement. All right, because he stopped a mass killing, right, in a hospital near Philadelphia in also 2000. Well, this one's 2014. The last one's here this year, 2015. Richard Plotz shot and killed a psychiatric caseworker that he was meeting, and his psychiatrist. And the psychiatrist, Lee Silverman, shot back and took the guy down. Now, again, not certain that this guy would have gone crazy and gone on to kill other people, but he had already shot two at that point. One shy of the mass killing thing. And if the doctor didn't have his firearm and did not utilize that firearm, that not only would the other person and him be dead, but who knows if anyone else would be as well. And we have another case. Now, this one is back in 2012, where this gentleman, William Alibaugh, killed one man and wounded another following an argument after being ejected from a bar. And the guy then approached a bar manager, and this guy, other gentleman that had a concealed carry permit, pointed his gun at him and shot the guy. Now, if you look at the video footage of this one, while the guy was walking away, he turned around to go back after he had already done this damage, and that's when the person pulled his firearm and shot the person. And this is another case where the county's defense attorney in this particular case stated that, could have been much worse. We believe it could have been much worse that night. So there's another example. And then one in South Carolina. This is in a church. This guy, Jesse Gates, goes into a church armed with a shotgun and kicked in the door. And then another gentleman had a concealed carry license, drew his gun, pointed it at Gates, and then the other parishioners disarmed him and waited for the cops. Now, where I read this, it specifically also stated that it's possible that the criminal wasn't planning on killing anybody. Maybe he just brought the shotgun to church and kicked the door to draw attention or to vent his frustration. But it's pretty safe to say that he could have done some serious damage in a full church with a shotgun after kicking the door in.
Well, you treat an act of aggression like an act of aggression.
Exactly.
You don't treat it like, a pacifist endeavor.
Yep.
Nobody's kicking in doors to wave white flags. All right. And if you believe that they are, leave. That's my advice.
Yep. And back in Atlanta in 2009, two people broke into an apartment, forced everyone to the floor, gathered all the variables.
Valuables?
You're right. I'm sorry. They gathered the various valuables, separated the men and women, and then they were going to, force the girls to have sex with them and then kill them all. And
sounds like a typical Atlanta night, though. I mean,
well, and
they party.
There was a civilian who was a former Marine, it looks like, or maybe he was part of the enlisted commissioning education program, it says. But he's acting as a civilian, mind you. Managed to get the bag he brought to the party, took his gun out, and shot and scared those people away. Went into the other room and actually stopped one of the girls from being raped. I mean, doesn't matter that this guy is a Marine. He's not a cop, and he's certainly not acting as a Marine. He's a citizen, all right?
Absolutely.
In this particular case. And he stopped it. 2008, Ernesto Villagomez killed two people, wounded two others in a bar fight filled with 300 people. And then somebody was shot. A patron shot him who was carrying a gun and a concealed carry license. Excuse me. But he stopped that one. 2007, another one. Matthew Murray killed 4 people at a church and then was shot several times by another church member, volunteer security guard, former police officer, obviously, again, acting as a citizen, an armed, concealed carry citizen. Okay, and there are more and more examples. I could spend the next 5 to 10 minutes giving more examples with minor details the way I've done here. Does it stop them? Yes, it does. Now, here's the question. It's about opportunity. It's about, are you there at the right time and in the right situation where you can act? In UCC up in Oregon, they weren't. Those guys weren't in a position to act. They were armed, despite the school policy. They were armed, but they weren't in a position to act. In these cases that I just rambled off, they were.
Now, mind you, speaking of Oregon and UCC, there was that guy who wasn't prepared to act and yet chose to do so anyway.
That's correct. Now that's dicey. But it's very brave.
He his bravery is absolutely commended, and unfortunately he was shot multiple times for his efforts, and thank God the kid's alive. He's got a family, but it could have ended up a lot worse. And unfortunately, his goal of stopping the perpetrator didn't come to fruition. So, he made the choice to act, and that's commendable. But unfortunately, he wasn't able to accomplish what he wanted to do. And that's where you gotta see the situation, as the big picture, and assess if you're actually able to do something that's going to stop it without increasing the danger and the risk to everybody around it, including yourself.
And again, it goes down to, you have to make that judgment call. Yeah. Otherwise, why are you carrying? It's for personal protection. It's for, the keep a free state, protect your family, all that good stuff, right? But you're not going to carry if you're not going to ever use it. Sure. And, you don't ever want to use it. That's not why you do it. You don't, like I said, you're not running around sitting there like a cowboy saying, I can't wait to shoot me a bad guy. That's not why you're doing it.
No. The idea that there are people who are, itching for a gunfight out there, it's probably a lot more prevalent in people's minds than it is in actuality. Granted, there are going to be people out there who are
I'm just about to say that. I'm sure there's some. I'm sure there's
to
some.
shoot somebody as soon as the opportunity arises, and that's not something that we can mitigate, but for the millions and millions and millions and millions of law-abiding gun owners out there, that percentage is very small.
It is,
and that percentage is going to exist in any kind of focus group that you try to delineate from the mass. Anybody, who's an opportunist to such a degree is going to represent the lowest percentage of any group. I'm sure there's people who take advantage of any situation in order to do something they know they shouldn't. For instance, I know that there are people in Boston who are living in subsidized housing, and subsidized by the state government. And these people are earning $200,000 incomes, circumventing the system to get a better, when there's people out there who genuinely need it. So, yeah, and there's opportunists everywhere, you know what I mean? But, when anybody sticks, firearms into the equation, suddenly transforms into, an undesirable beast.
Sure.
So,
sure. And at the end of the day, what are you going to do about it?
Like I said, you can't mitigate it. There's nothing you can do.
Some of these guys sitting there saying, oh, well, these guys are running around championing a situation like this, saying, hey, this is why blah, blah, blah. And, and they're saying this as if we think common sense gun laws, common sense gun regulation is bad. I don't know about you, but do you know a reasonable person, a pro-Second Amendment guy out there that says, I don't think there should be any background checks. I don't think that anyone should have to have safety training. Have you ever met anyone that thinks either of those things are wrong?
No.
I haven't. And, the fact of the matter is this. You can, in fact, and this has always been fact, lose your rights. I mean, you have freedom to move about and to make a life for yourself and to do all this stuff. But if you infringe upon someone else's rights to such severity, you forfeit that right because you get put in jail, right? Yeah. So without question, you get put in jail. So we know you can forfeit your rights based off of your illegal behavior. So hence a background check, right? So I don't know who it is that these people are imagining are saying that we need new laws for it. So why not use the laws, get the background check, the mandatory safety training, which I don't know a state that says you can just go buy it without ever being trained on anything, or having any sort of background check. At least for pistols, I know that I don't think there's a state out there you can. Maybe I'm wrong. Probably should research that maybe for another show, but I digress. I don't think that that's what they need to be focusing on when we have these instances. And I wanna drop that sort of topic there as you indicated. And we can all see on YouTube. But I mean the fact is that the good guys out there, the good guys, they're there.
They're making a difference. And they're not being highlighted because, it's not the controversial topics that people love to read about or hear about or see. It's not generating that kind of, a following, but it does occur. There's plenty of people out there who are, unsung heroes, really, and they're just everyday people, and a lot of those people are, LEOs and, former servicemen, and some of them are just ordinary citizens who have trained, and become efficient with a firearm, and are willing to make that risk and put themselves in the line of danger for what they believe in, and that's commendable. It's not always going to be the right decision, and the only way anybody's going to learn that is the wrong way, unfortunately. But, that's what needs to be done sometimes. If you want to change things, you have to change yourself. You have to change the situation. You have to change your surroundings. Nothing's going to change by standing still.
That's correct. So I want to show you a little something here, and I'm going to leave this with this, and then maybe we can bugger off. But I saw this, and I was like, wow, that's going up on our page. It's Let's Make This Simple. Here's the top. We've got the good guys with guns and the bad guys with guns. All right. And then you've got good guys without guns and the bad guys with guns. And now, honestly, I wasn't a fan of what's at the bottom of this meme. It says, do you get it, or are you stupid or something? Right? You don't need to punch somebody in the face
or belittle them
to make them understand you. I mean, granted, the Let's Make This Simple and drawing stick figures here, and what we're looking at, folks that aren't watching, is a meme where it's divided in half, and it says Let's Make This Simple, and we've got two pictures. We've got a picture on the top that says good guys with guns and good guys with bad guys with guns, and you've got all of them have guns and they're all pointed at the ground. And then below that, you've got good guys without guns and bad guys with guns. And you've got the poor, sad good guys with no guns, and all the bad guys' guns are pointed at them. It's a very, very simple meme. And, maybe not everything is black and white, but at the end of the day, even if it's not black and white, this meme is very, very true. And you can check this out in our show notes. You can check it out on the Facebook page itself, even if you can't watch the YouTube video. So I think we're probably just about done for tonight.
Yeah, we're wrapping it up, but I definitely want to give a shout out to anybody that joined in and gave a listen. Anybody who may stumble upon us, on any sort of social media, definitely, if you're listening to us through Stitcher or iTunes, thank you for listening. We appreciate it.
Yep.
We're just a couple of guys who who are frustrated with the way things are, and need to bloodlet every now and again, and unfortunately we haven't been as timely as we like to be, and we may progress this further as a bi-weekly podcast, or we may continue weekly. It all depends. I mean, real life happens. So if you're sticking with us, thank you.
Yeah, in our efforts, I think we're, we'll do our best to do the weekly thing. But, hey, if we go 2 weeks, suck it up. You love us, and we appreciate that. So,
and then we have more content to bring.
That's right. We got more content to bring. It'll be a more passionate discussion.
Oh, might be long-winded.
Might be long-winded, hence the editing.
Yeah. Possibly.
So, thank you very much for checking us out once again at Seconds Count. Please check us out at secondscount.com. That's 2nds.com. From there, you can like us on Facebook, follow us on Twitter. Hell, you can even watch us on YouTube now, but I'm not even going to get into looking us up on Google Plus. I mean, the end result is go find us in Google, find us from Facebook. You can find us pretty much everywhere. But secondscount.com has all the information you're looking for. Don't forget, you can email Trav at trav@secondscount.com or Brother Mac at secondscount.com. It's a beautiful thing.
He spells Mac, M-A-K, just for the record, because he's not telling you that.
That's true. You got to make it to our website, though. It'll be easy as pie.
Or, yeah.
Easy as pie.
But with that, we want to thank you for listening. It is Friday,
October
16th, 2015. This is episode
number 7.
Oh, but
which is actually 8.
Actually,
we have surpassed episode 7 and are now episode 8. Although this is named 7, and I'm not going to get into why. If you want to find that out, go watch.
Check our show notes.
That's right. Check out the show notes and see. I want to start a damn podcast. We talk all about it. But in here, this is going to be episode 7, and we appreciate you listening.
Yes, our force has awakened.
That is correct. Yeah. So thank you very much for all your time, and I am still Brother Mac.
And I'm Trav, and I want you to stay classy.
Stay classy. You're a dick.
I said it with a straight face.
Say it again.
You gotta lead into it.
So once again, I am Brother Mac.
And I'm Trav, and I want you to stay classy.
Stay sassy.
I didn't have anything to follow it up with.
With seconds count.
I'm dying.
With seconds count.
And we should be off.
Stopping broadcast. Actually, I'm going to let the broadcast roll while I stop the recording. Now, technically, our show is no longer recording, but it is recording in the Google Hangout. Not that anyone's in here, but this could very well be left in on YouTube. And I'd like to thank you guys for watching this. This is Brother Mac and Trav's very first recording on YouTube. It's kind of cool.
And I have no idea if I'm in it.
Well, no, you are in it. See, right there. There's your pretty face. It's big, beautiful on the screen. That monstrous, manly beard of yours. This is my beard. I'm going to show everybody really up close.
There's no beard.
Look at that shit right there.
It looks like a 12-year-old's vagina.
As long as you haven't seen one in about 20 years.
Dude, I think 12-year-old vaginas probably have more hair than that, dude.
As long as you haven't seen one in about 20 some odd years, that's a fine assessment to make. So, but anyway, it's kind of cool to have the whole Google Hangout thing. I'm looking forward to find out if we can actually hear Trav throughout the recording.
Yeah.
And we'll have to see. We'll have to see, and we can use this for.
Microphone's going off in 3, 2.
So I'm anxious to find out if we can actually hear Trav on that. And the case is, if we can, just by muting him in the Hangout itself, it'll be very awesome, because what that'll mean is that we can have guests on here without issue. So Yeah, it would be very cool. So, anyway, you guys have a great night. Thank you very much for watching. If you stumbled upon our YouTube video, and I know we don't have any current viewers, but that doesn't mean you won't watch it later. So, I'll talk to you soon. Brother Mac, and that guy over there is Trav, and we will see you later.